Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day, and welcome back to Emma Nitpicking Movies Made for Children. Part 3. Okay, I know I'm choosing easy targets here, picking kids' movies, but the moment I saw this movie on Disney Plus the other day, I knew I had to talk about it with you guys for a couple different reasons. So if you're like me, you've maybe heard about the movie Blank Check. It's a 1994 Disney movie about a kid who, through a series of weird and wacky coincidences that we'll get into in a little bit, manages to cash a check for $1 million and like the zany, fun little adventures he gets into trying to evade the criminals that are trying to take the money away from him. The origin behind me hearing about this movie is a little bit weird though, so let me explain. So my sophomore year of college, I had to take a film producing class, which we spent a million years talking about this book that we had to read called Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need by Blake Snyder. The book breaks down basically the default steps and like the 15 distinct beats you have to hit in your script or Hollywood execs will come to your house and beat you to death. The guy who wrote the book actually uses one of his own movies as an example a couple of times, and you'll never guess what that movie is. Yes, it's Blank Check. So with my professor and a bunch of other people who were working within Hollywood telling me this book is really important, it's crucial to understanding screenwriting, I would assume that the guy who wrote it is a good screenwriter, right? Like, I feel like that's not that big of a leap in logic, right? Apparently, yes. Yes, it was. Because this movie is hot doo-doo. This movie had a bit of controversy surrounding a certain aspect of it that we'll get into in a little bit, but I will say it did have me screaming ew at my screen every so often, so you have been warned. Enough rambling, let's get into this masterclass of screenwriting. So the opening scene of this movie was kind of confusing to me because it shows an escaped prisoner running through the rain, which is not what I thought this movie was about. I thought this movie was about when Preston Waters sees an opportunity, he takes it. So anyway, we see this guy trying to pry open this trap door, but he isn't able to, so he uses this welding torch that he just happen to have lying around. I mean, I do that too. I keep one welding torch in each one of the rooms in my house. You guys do that too, right? He gets it open and we see that he was hiding a briefcase full of money. And oh my god, look, it's our boy Blake. In the credits, we cut to our protagonist Preston, who's having his bedroom invaded by his older brothers because they need more room for their business. Preston tries to argue with his dad about it, saying that they should just put their junk in their room, but then his dad says this.
Preston, they need the space for their business.
My space?
Well, young man in this family industry gets rewarded. See, while you're in here playing, your brothers are hard at work.
You're so right, Dad. We should bring back child labor. You're so wise. So after the dad says his whole spiel about how hard work is how you get things in life, he decides to just gift his sons a new computer.
Surprise! Don't worry, boy. Software in here will teach you how to do everything but make love to a woman.
Why did he say that? Ugh.
Now I know what program to get your father for Christmas.
And now why would you say that? So this movie's rated PG, which definitely means something different today than it did in the 90s, but I don't know, there's so many sexual references in this kid's movie, it made me uncomfortable, and I'm an adult. Preston is basically forced to go to this kid Butch's birthday party at an amusement park, and because his dad won't give him much money, he has to sit out on all the cool rides that everyone else gets to go on, and he just gets to go on the lame kiddie rides. That's not even the worst part, because the worst part is this kid Butch. He calls him Presto the Pesto.
It's Presto the Pesto!
Which is, you know, supposed to be some sort of insult, but I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, I don't get it. It's not very clever. And I don't know, his name is Butch. His whole name is a joke. You're gonna have to be a little bit more creative than that. Besides that, he spends the entirety of his own birthday just making fun of Preston. Like, what a loser.
Preston! Come with us! Just kidding!
Another thing about this sequence that stood out to me is, I don't know if it's just the way that I was raised, but do these kids seem too young to be wandering around an amusement park by themselves all day? If it was me at this age, I would have gotten lost and started crying within like 10 minutes. So Preston goes back home and complains that he doesn't have any money. So again, his dad advocates for child labor, and they decide to give him one of his birthday presents a little bit early, a blank check from his grandma. He thinks it's a check for nothing, so he starts having like a midlife crisis. Or I guess he's too young for that. Like a quarter life. An eighth life crisis. His dad explains the concept of the blank check to him and makes it out for $11. Preston goes upstairs to the computer to calculate how long it would take for him to get his $11 to $1 million, and the computer tells him it's going to be 342,506 years. If you're anything like me, you're thinking, is that actually accurate? Would it actually take that long to get $11 to $1 million? Well, let's take it over to the whiteboard and figure it out. Hi. So there are two types of equations we can try to use to solve for this, simple and compound interest. Let's start with simple. We can take the simple equation and rearrange. Is she seriously gonna explain this whole thing? The time it would take for Preston's $11 to turn into $1 million. Inputting the $1 million he wants to have with the $11 he has, and the interest rate we see on the computer. How long is this? 2,635,017 years. But there is another equation we can use. Taking the compound interest rate and then rearranging the formula. She's still going. And inputting the same values that we got from before, we end up with 336 years and 7 months. Considering even both equations, neither of them are even close to what it says that it's gonna be in the movie. So tell me, Blake Snyder, how important is attention to detail to you? Did you really think that 30 years after you released a kid's movie, some loser with way too much time on her hand wouldn't go and dust off her algebra skills to prove you wrong? Well, that's where you're wrong. I don't really know what the point of this was. I think I just wasted my time. Cut the cameras. So we cut to the criminal from earlier. His name is Quigley, which has to be the most non-threatening name I've ever heard for a criminal before. He's basically telling this banker named Biederman that he has to exchange his stolen $1 million for clean bills or else he's gonna kill him and his family. Here's another one of my nitpicks. So he's an escaped prisoner, right? So like the police are actively looking for him. Couldn't Biederman just call the police? And then he's arrested. Then he can't do anything. Like, I don't know, like that's what I would do. But the same day at the bank, opening the door with his mind, apparently, Preston decides he wants to start an account so he can start saving and accruing interest. Here we're introduced to the love interest of the movie, and you're probably thinking, a love interest? That's kind of weird. Isn't this kid like 11 years old? And that's what I thought, but it's just another girl his age, and she's... What? Oh, sorry. No, it's a grown adult woman. So... yeah. So basically this lady named Shay tells him that he needs at least $200 to open an account, but to come back and look for her specifically when he has it. And she hasn't even done anything yet, but just like the way she's looking at him makes me want to... As Preston's leaving the bank, Butch comes up on his bike and snatches the check out of his hand, leading to a bike chase that leaves Preston right behind Quigley's car, so he gets a little bit run over. Quigley starts yelling at the two kids, which attracts the attention of people in the parking lot and the police. So in order to just satisfy them about the damages to the bike, and so the police leave him alone, he just gives Preston a signed blank check. That's the name of the movie! This part always seems so goofy to me because Quigley's an escaped prisoner, right? I'm not saying I understand how any of this works, but like, they'd probably freeze his accounts. At the very least, like, this is a small town, people would recognize him, and he's using his real name on the checks. So like, how could they not catch him? But who am I to question Sir Blake Snyder? Preston goes home and his parents get mad at him for getting run over. Seriously? They get mad at him because his bike got run over by a car.
That's it, young man. Until further notice, you're grounded. What'd I do wrong?
So Preston takes the check, makes it out for $1 million, and heads to the bank the next day. So Quigley told Biederman that his guy Juice would come pick up the money the next day, but since Preston got there around the same time, Biederman ends up giving the money to Preston instead of Juice.
Juice?
No thanks, I'm not thirsty.
We get introduced to the actual Juice a couple minutes later, and he checks out every single woman at the bank.
Look here, sweetheart. You look kind of good. They got your pearls and everything on. Oh, my goodness. Oh, sweetie.
Again, just feels so weird for a kid's movie. Biederman eventually realizes that he messed up and gave the $1 million to the wrong person, which serves as the main conflict for the movie. Preston's first move with his $1 million is to buy a house, but not just any house, this literal castle mansion that just happens to be in his neighborhood. Quigley was about to buy the house for $150,000. That's right, 150 grand for the castle mansion, which even by 1993 standards is the most unbelievable part of this movie. For some context, this house, if you can even call it a house, is valued at $6 million today, so it's only slightly outside of Preston's budget, unfortunately. Anyway, ignoring that insane figure, Preston and Quigley get into a bidding war over the house, and Preston ends up getting it for 300 grand, and he tells him that his name is Macintosh.
My name is Macintosh.
We then get the obligatory rolling in the money scene where all the neatly banded stacks of cash in his backpack suddenly become loose bills. So a recurring thing about this movie is that it wants to be a lot like another family movie starring a mischievous young boy, Home Alone. Blank Check came out about 4 years after Home Alone did, but it seems hell-bent on trying to recreate the charm of its predecessor and keeps falling very short. Preston hires a limo driver named Henry to take him to a bunch of different stores so he can get some new clothes, some new toys, and like a million TVs. While moving all his stuff in, Preston's dad comes to the castle down the street to see what's happening, and that's where Preston tells him that he's actually working for Mr. Macintosh, and that's why he's getting paid so lavishly. Shay shows up to talk to Mr. Macintosh because she thinks that he's up to some con, and she talks to Preston about meeting him.
I had to work.
Wow, this is where you work? Not too shabby.
So I thought Shay knew that Preston was lying, because who would hire a kid to play around a mansion as a job? But she like actually believes him. Since Mr. McIntosh isn't available to meet with her, she decides to go on a date with Preston. And around this time, it's clear that she's working undercover, so she's clearly just trying to get information out of him, which I guess sort of excuses the weird predatory behavior, legally at least. Preston's dad also wants to meet Mr. McIntosh, but Preston tells him that he's gonna be on a date, so he can't meet him.
I guess I can see him first thing in the morning.
Oh, I don't know, Dad. I mean, I'd be up pretty late. This woman.
Lucky dog.
Why is this movie so gross and weird? Throughout the date, she seems like genuinely like into him, and it grosses me out so much.
Are you married? What's the shortest guy you ever dated?
I'm not really sure.
Do you think Preston's a cool name? The date continues on to some really romantic stuff.
Holy fuck! Okay, now come here, sir. Okay, now. Preston, I can't believe it.
You can't believe a fountain? Or were you born yesterday? I wish you were, then you'd be a little bit more age appropriate. Preston decides he's gonna have a huge birthday party so he can impress Shay, but as he's trying to like think of people to invite, he realizes that he doesn't really have any friends except for his chauffeur, Henry. He goes to the park to go to like connect with kids his age, which I think we can all agree is a good idea because he's spending way too much time with adults he really doesn't know. Quigley and Co. find Preston at the park because they've been looking for him at like places where kids would hang out, like at parks or at playgrounds. Is it just me, or is this movie getting creepier by the minute? A big chase scene ensues where Quigley and Co. drive the car through like the entire park, almost running people over, breaking a bunch of stuff, and Preston ends up getting away, so it wasn't even worth it. But I'm so shocked that like the police don't show up to investigate this. Does this just happen all the time in this weird ass town? Like, what is happening? Because Preston got away, Quigley then turns to kidnapping and almost killing Butch in order to get him to tell him who Preston is and where he lives. Preston's brothers tell him that Shay is only interested in him because of Mr. McIntosh's money, which makes him realize maybe this grown woman isn't actually into me, or maybe that's just what I'm hoping for. He talks to Henry about it, and this scene really solidifies it for me that they did not give this guy a script at all and just told him, you know what, just have fun and go for it.
All is gold are soon parted. Those old sayings, man. I don't get them. I don't even know really what that means. You ever heard that more than one way to skin a cat? Have you heard that one? Who skins cats? Why would you skin a cat? And there is not more than one way to skin a cat. There is only one way to skin a cat. You grab the cat, you rip the skin off the cat. What is a number two way? Think about it. What do you put a hose up the cat's butt? He gets so bloated that he skins himself? What does he have a little piece of Velcro under his butt there? We just like unvelcro him? No.
What is this guy talking about? Also, how drunk was he when they started filming? So there were a ton of people here at the party, but Preston had told the party planner earlier that he didn't really have anyone to invite, so who the hell are these people? Preston goes to get money for the party planner, but discovers that, shockingly, he's spent all his money and doesn't have enough to pay her. His dad comes in while he's having a breakdown and is actually being really nice to him for once, but he doesn't know that he's talking to his son. He thinks he's talking to Mr. McIntosh, so really he's just trauma dumping on a stranger. Yeah, so I haven't been such a great dad lately. Yeah, man, it's tough. I just push them too much. I punish them over the smallest things. I grounded my son for getting run over, and I let his older brothers make fun
I'm sorry, you grounded him for getting run over?
Yeah, well, you know, what else are you supposed to do?
Be there for your son? Make sure he's okay? I mean, what's wrong with you?
Hey man, you don't know me. You can't talk to me like that.
Yeah, I don't know you. The store has been closed for 3 hours. Can you
please leave? I want to go home. His dad and Henry both leave the party, so by the time that Shay shows up, he's just too heartbroken to even try to flirt with her again. Preston tells the party planner that he doesn't have any money to pay her with, so she decides to cancel the party and kicks everyone out, leaving Preston, dare I say, home alone. Quigley, Juice, and Biederman show up at the house after everyone's cleared out to confront Preston about Mr. McIntosh and about the money.
You outbid me? Wait a minute. You trying to tell me that this little bitty boy right here outbids you with your own money?
Thank God we have Juice to spell it out for us. It's not like we saw it happen in real time or anything like that.
How could you spend $1 million in 6 days? You must not have been shopping lately.
Zinger, very topical, Juice. You know, he's not that bad if you overlook the money laundering and child endangerment and perviness. You know, he's just a chill guy. A long sequence ensues that really gives me the Home Alone vibes that I was talking about before. Preston uses his toys and gadgets to trick, outsmart, and attack all the bad guys until eventually he's cornered by Quigley, but then he manages to pull this crazy move. How did he managed to get up there, get strapped in, and put those gloves on, all in like 10 seconds? I need answers, Blake Snyder. No, because how did that open? I just saw it lock like 10 seconds ago, and you're telling me all of a sudden it just decided to open up? I wanted to see this lighthearted kids movie turn to the grisly tale of how Preston accidentally drowned a man. As the three guys are about to like kill him, I guess, Shay and a bunch of officers and agents show up asking who is McIntosh. Quigley has a great idea to declare that he's McIntosh.
I'm McIntosh.
So he can just have like a new house and a new identity and everything, but obviously they came to arrest him, because what have you ever seen an entire FBI unit show up to someone's house just to hang out, you know? So after Quigley, Biederman, and Juice get sent away, Shay and Preston have a heart-to-heart, which progressively made me more and more nauseous.
Why don't you give me a call in, say, about 10 years?
5,
7.
6.
Okay. It's a date.
Oh no, please. Oh god, please stop. None of the like 20 officers or agents say anything about it for some reason, so I guess they're just rocking with groomers. Like, what? Henry comes back with a big tub of ice cream and says goodbye to Preston. As sad as it seems to see him say goodbye to his only friend, I think it's for the best that he stops hanging out with a grown man who seems blasted out of his mind half the time. Preston makes up with his dad and they go home to find that his family actually all of a sudden cares about him.
You know what they say? Be careful what you wish for.
I don't know, man. I'm not so sure I'd regret having a free $1 million I didn't have to work for just given to me. It sounds pretty nice.
What else do I want? I mean, got everything that I need right here. On the other hand,
So he wishes for Shay, I guess. You know, I'd like to see a sequel for this movie where he's visiting her at a federal facility for grooming a child literally less than half of her age. And that's how the movie ends. Real heartwarming story, I think. I feel like the moral of the story is supposed to be like, be grateful for what you have, and money isn't everything, but we can see how miserable Preston is at the beginning of the movie because of how money-driven his family is, and I don't think that's really gonna change based off of this whole ordeal. Besides the whole illegal part, I don't think Preston was really wrong for wanting to be rich, especially when his dad spends like every single waking moment telling him how important it is to have money. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously, but I feel like I had the right to be so critical over something that was referenced in the coursework I had to do in order to graduate from college. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie, and remember to like and subscribe to keep up with any and all future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!